And no matter where this life takes you next, always know that you have a home here at Anchor Beach.
Season 5 of The Fosters comes to a close, so let's break down the final 2 episodes here on What Happened. What's up, y'all? Lisa here, and I don't know who thought it was a great idea to put the finale of The Fosters and This Is Us on the same night. Like, seriously, my tear ducts are exhausted. I think I'm gonna have a drought going on there for a few weeks, but you know what? That punishment is well worth it because both shows are amazing. But anyway, for The Fosters, guys, I don't want it to end, but alas, we had the 2-hour season finale for season 5. But don't worry, because we do have those special summer episodes coming for you in a few months. And if you follow the cast on social media, you know that the episodes will include someone's wedding in Turks and Caicos, which is revealed at the end of the second hour. Now, of course, we know we'll be seeing Mariana and Callie again in their own spinoff, and according to Perez Hilton's sources, creators are also toying with a spinoff for her favorite mamas. Now, I'm not sure how credible those sources are, but I do know a lot of fans out there would be happy with that spinoff as well, so hopefully that can happen too. Now, like I said, I'm still sitting here trying to recover from both of these episodes. They were a lot, and of course the ending to the second episode just had me like bawling because we get the flash forward that I think we've all wanted. We get to see the Adams Foster's kids graduate, we learn if they got into their dream schools and whatnot, and yeah, it's just so much happy emotion, sad emotion, all emotion at the same time. You know what? All the kids get into their dream schools and graduate, which just makes it even better. And then the last thing that happens with Steph and Lena, of course, is kind of the best and a cliffhanger, and it's like the circle of life going on here. It's like, will they foster again? Will they not foster again now that they're going to have an empty nest? If this was the series finale, I think it would have been okay. Even with those summer episodes, if we didn't have those, that this would have been a satisfying ending for the show, but I am now more excited for those summer episodes. So, I am going to talk about both episodes in this one video, so let's start it off with episode 18, which also serves as the milestone 100th episode of the show. Now, for all you Jude fans, he is not in this one episode. He is off apparently still eating dinner at Taylor's house and lying, aka secretly continuing his live streams, but he does pop up in the finale episode. As for Mariana, Jesus accuses her of ripping off Emma because of the whole maze thing, but Mariana assures him she had no idea that Emma had even changed her robot and what that maze was for. In fact, she thought Emma's robot was one that shoots shaving cream as some type of prototype for a robot to help firemen in the future. Jesus informs her, though, that apparently 2 students from the same school doing the same type of robot would be bad for them and could cancel them out, so neither of them could have a chance at this internship, but none of them want to change their robots either. So later at school, when Emma and Mariana have mazes set up and they're practicing with their robots, Mariana's robot is killing the maze while Emma's is having a lot of problems, which frustrates Emma. Jesus tells Mariana she could just help Emma, but you know what? Mariana's like, nope, sorry. Well, after a chat with Callie about her relationship with Aaron, Callie says something that finally gets through to Mariana. She essentially says that, why stab someone in the back? The world spends too much time pitting women against each other. We should help each other out. Flash forward a little bit and we see Mariana and Emma together, actually happy with each other and not killing one another. Yeah, Mariana took Jesus' advice and decided to help Emma after all, but not with her maze robot, with the original robot that shoots the shaving cream, so now they both have a better chance of getting this internship, and they can put that petty teenager stuff behind them. For Brendan and Grace, they don't get that happy of an ending to the storyline in this episode like Mariana and Emma. What we thought was going to happen does start to happen. We have Brandon waiting for Grace outside her doctor's appointment, and when she comes out, she hugs him and tells him that she's in remission. But if you have eagle eyes, you caught this look on her face like, girl, I know you be lying, so why are you gonna do this to Brandon? But also, I get why you would do this, but hearts are gonna be broken. Grace keeps this lie up, and she and Brandon head to LA for his interview at the Musicians Institute. They take time to be tourists, taking tons of selfies, busking on the street, going to the beach, talking about sunrises and sunsets, all of this. But the fact that Grace keeps insisting on more selfies and all of this, and then we have Brandon finding her beach in a jar in the trunk of the car, you just know that this bad news is going to be confirmed. And you know what? With this storyline, because of my love for A Walk to Remember and the fact that I just recently watched Midnight Sun, these stories are just so heartbreaking, and it's also so sad because they look so happy, and in real life, David and Meg are dating, and you just want them to be together forever, and then you think about the characters on the show, and you know they're not going to be, and I get way too invested in this. I gotta move on. So Brandon and Grace end up at Susan's house, and Grace immediately goes up the steps and tells Susan that she has to tell him. She goes to the backyard and sits on a bench, and Brandon eventually joins her, and she tells him that she tried to tell him on the way up, but she just couldn't, and that she didn't want to tell him at the doctor's office because she thought if she had, he wouldn't have gone to LA for his interview, because she tells him that Steph was right about Brandon being a caretaker and having trouble taking care of himself, and all of that causes him to sabotage himself, just like with Courtney and Juilliard. And this actually references a conversation earlier in the episode between Brandon and Steph, where Steph is trying to deal with her own inner demons, and she apologizes to Brandon for the messages that may have been sent to him as a kid, where he felt like he had to take care of someone, and how you don't have to rescue someone to be worthy of their love. Now, even though Brandon insists that this isn't true, we all know that it kind of is. And Grace tells him that she's going to stay with her mom and she's not going back to San Diego, but he can visit on weekends. But you know what? She's done with these treatments, so he has to promise that when the time comes, because he's her proxy, that he'll let her go. We then see Brandon pack in the car to go back to San Diego when Steph and Lena drive up, and Steph gets out of the car and offers to drive back with him because she knows that he needs someone with him, and he breaks down in her arms. Okay, enough of the sad stuff for the moment. Moving on to Callie. Unfortunately, it's too late for Professor Kim to help her get into the law program, but he does tell her to wait a year and then he'll see what he can do. Him and his parents are then over explaining how they got obtained by ICE in the first place, but it was by a bunch of deceit. But unfortunately, they don't have the money or the resources to hire another lawyer and appeal the case. Now, you know what this does. It gets those hamster wheels in Gallie's brain turning, and she turns to Aaron and asks if there's a way they can do something. And Aaron says he'll bring it up to his study group. Then Amanda shows up and kills the mood, and it's obvious that Callie still has some major feelings for Aaron she needs to deal with. Aaron pitches the case to Professor Kim in the study group as a work-study type of thing, and at first Professor Kim doesn't think that they have a case or that the case has a chance because ICE agents won't admit that they did anything wrong. Callie then brings up possibly getting an ICE agent to testify on him in his behalf, Agent Allen, so Professor says if they can get Agent Allen to write an amicus brief and cooperate, he'll file the appeal. She then goes to ask Agent Allen for his help, but he says he can't risk it, so she says she'll just have to compel him to testify.
What's this?
Subpoena.
Sorry. You've been served.
After all that excitement, Callie has girl talk with Mariana and reveals that she's in fact still in love with Aaron, and she should have gotten back with him when she had the chance, but now he's dating Amanda and she doesn't want to stab Amanda in the back. Mariana says Callie just needs to tell Aaron how she feels, and she needs to stop creating tragic love stories for herself, and all I gotta say to that is amen, sister. Callie takes Mariana's advice and expresses her feelings to Aaron and says she wants to be with him, but he hesitates because he's not at the same place with Amanda he was the first time that Callie asked. It's not super casual anymore, so he says he needs to think about it. Now for the main storyline of this episode, the goats. No, not goats. Steph and Lena. At the beginning of the episode, tensions are high, but thankfully by the end, love is in the air and our mamas are stronger than ever. So Lena and Steph are at odds about going to this whole couples retreat, but eventually they reluctantly both kind of decide to go. They head off to the retreat where it just goes wrong right off the bat. Their counselors thought that it was going to be a straight couple, so they have a him and her envelope, and they're like, oh, sorry, we can get you another her envelope. But then we start to see Steph kind of get worked up, and then she turns to her defense mechanism of rambling and telling jokes and just being like, oh, it's fine now, I'll just take the him envelope. And then they have their assignments and activities, and Steph just makes weird jokes like this.
Your assignments for the weekend are in there.
Little surprises for each other.
Oh, we love surprises, don't we, honey? As long as mine doesn't involve a penis, because that would really be a surprise.
Things just keep going downhill throughout the retreat as Steph and Lena have trouble communicating, and their activities like goat yoga and canoeing do not go well. During their group therapy session, Steph starts to realize she has more in common with these straight couples than she thought she did at the beginning of the retreat. And that's when she sees a woman talking about her dad and how he's dead, so she can't confront him. And we see Steph really perk up, and we realize that this must be the root of her issues as well. The counselor tells the woman that even though her dad physically isn't here, she can still talk to him and work out the issues. Steph chooses not to talk in therapy, but Lena does, and that's when she drops some big bombs. She reveals that what scares her is when all the kids are gone, because the kids have been the glue that are holding Steph and her together, will they be able to connect or not? Will they be able to be vulnerable with each other? She thinks that when the kids leave, they won't be able to, and they don't know how they'll be together after the kids are gone. Lena then tries to make an effort to heat things up, and she does her assignment where she's written a romantic letter for Steph and she's in her nightgown, but Steph pretty much is so mad about what Lena said in group and then walks off after another fight. Steph goes into the woods where she comes across a renegade goat who's basically a sign because she takes that goat back to the pen, and then we start to hear her talking and her dad appears. Looks like Steph takes the advice the therapist gave the other woman, and she finally confronts her dad and all those issues because all she ever wanted was her dad's approval, but she never got it. All she got was his rejection that made her feel ashamed and like she wasn't normal and that he wasn't proud of her, and that's all she's ever wanted was for him to say that he loves her and that he's proud of her and nothing is wrong with her. The ghost of her dad says that he can't say all that, but she can say it to herself, which is what matters, and that she needs to say that she loves herself, that she's proud of herself, and there's nothing wrong with her. Steph says those words, and then her dad says that when she can truly believe what she just said, then all the shitty things that he did will feel like nothing, and then she'll remember the good things and that he did love her. After this breakthrough, Steph returns to Lena and opens up about the shame she felt when Tess showed back up and how that shame kept her from being completely vulnerable. She always has this fear that everything she has will be ripped away because she's not so-called normal, and so she's always trying to act strong, protect everybody, and all of that. But Lena reassures Steph that she sees Steph's struggles and fears and loves her for them, and Steph really needs to share these dark places so they can help each other heal. And then all is made up, the romance heats up, and then Steph does her assignment and reproposes to Lena, who accepts and says that she'll marry Steph every time she asks. Alright, so that's it for episode 18, the 100th episode. Let's move on to the season finale, and I'm going to try to keep my composure as I talk about it. This episode opens with Steph, Lena, and Robert, and everyone waiting on Callie and Brandon to show up for graduation. Like, they are like the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. They are cutting it real close, and they can't keep stalling this ceremony forever. Steph tells Robert it's been a few crazy days, and that's when we flash back to the events of the past 2 days. Mariana tries to wake up Jesus because they need to clean up the backyard, but Jesus doesn't want to budge. He's still pretty bummed because he's basically learned that he's like 4 credits short of being a senior like he's supposed to be because he failed math, and he thinks that Emma won't want to date a junior. Mariana, though, just keeps annoying him in that nice sister way that you know something's gonna happen, and she takes him into the backyard where, surprise, everyone is waiting with their tool belts on. Yeah, you remember the treehouse? That's finally coming back. Jesus' senior project of building that treehouse counts for 4 credits, so if he finishes that now, he can use that space in his schedule for senior year to retake math, and he will get to be a senior with all his classmates and, of course, his sister. And also, when I say that everybody is there, Mike and Anna finally reappear. Where the hell have they been? And also, Gabe. Gabe is back to help out because Mariana called him, of course, and we get to see Jesus and Gabe kind of resolve that whole Gabe leaving situation, and it's really sweet, and I'm glad that storyline got some resolution. Now, Mariana, of course, has ended up inviting both Logan and Wyatt to help because she still can't make a choice. Mariana thinks she's going to dump Wyatt since he's graduating and he wants to travel the world, and she doesn't really think that, long distance will work, but she doesn't end up breaking up with Wyatt just yet. Emma then starts thinking about her future and that if she gets into MIT, how she'll be such long distance from Jesus, and that's going to be hard. And of course, it's the Fosters, so someone has to overhear this conversation, and of course, that is Jesus. And he walks away before he hears Emma say that she's not planning on breaking up with him. What's weird is that it seems like Jesus, in his natural fashion, would kind of flip out again or be worried, but I don't think it's actually ever brought up again in this episode. Now, when they're putting the treehouse together at Camp Home again, Mariana runs up saying she got an email from the foundation, so she and Emma open their emails together, and as expected, only one of them gets the internship, and that is Emma. Mariana is now bummed and is up in the treehouse when the power of twin healing comes into play as Jesus climbs up and gives her the comfort she needs. She thinks her life is ruined and she can't get into MIT, but he reminds her that she's like the most single-minded person he knows, so when she wants something, she gets it.
Remember when we were kids? We always wanted a magic treehouse. Now we got one. It's gonna take you anywhere you want to go.
So where does Mariana go? I'll tell you after I talk about the other storylines because everything comes together at the graduation ceremony when we also flash into the future. Moving on to Jude, he's working on the treehouse in the backyard with Noah, and things take a turn when Jude says that he can't help at the church rummage sale because he has to do a meet and greet with Taylor and Declan. When Noah accidentally gets paint on Jude's t-shirt, Jude blows up saying that this t-shirt was so expensive, and Noah's basically had it with how Jude has changed and pretty much turned into Declan. They end up breaking up, and then at the meet and greet, when a fan asks Jude for advice and they're talking and Jude's actually kind of really into this, Declan gets pissy and tries to hurry the fan up and then calls the fan basically all fans losers, and says they're just in it for, you know, the fame and the money. And Jude's eyes are finally open and he sees just how he has turned into Declan. He goes home and is painting his nails, which obviously we haven't seen him do in forever, that Lena also points out when she walks in. Those two have a chat about how to not turn into a jerk, and he comes clean about still streaming. Now at the graduation ceremony, Noah shows up and Jude apologizes and reveals that he quit Imminent Power and he and Taylor are going back to their own streams to do what they had set out to in the first place. When it comes to Steph, Margot texts her saying, "What the hell, you filed a warrant for Patrick Malloy," and Steph is kind of like, oh crap. She ends up coming clean to Lena because they're communicating again now, so she says what's going on. She can't get to Malloy without taking Gray down, and if she does that, she's afraid that he's going to go to internal affairs and tell them that she lied during Mike's shooting investigation, and she's just scared of losing her job if things go bad. But Lena is like, you know what? Do what you have to do. So we see Steph go talk to Detective Gray, and she says she wants a truce and that she'll let the Malloy thing go if he promises to not go to IA about her and to leave Kyle alone. He agrees and says if she doesn't narc, he won't narc. She then though brings up and asks if it bothers him that he left a child molester on the street. And Gray says it would have been worse if he had left a murderer, so he had to pick his battles. Now when Steph goes back to the car, Mike is there listening, and it turns out that this was all part of a plan because Steph was wearing a wire in order to try to get Gray to confess to what he did. So she goes and she turns it into IA. She later tells Lena she feels good about coming clean and maybe now she should have a career change. And Lena says she just wants her to do what makes Steph happy and makes Steph feel good about herself. And we learn that in fact Malloy started talking, so they're gonna get Gray. As for Callie, she gets a visit from Agent Allen and his supervisor Agent Jordan, and it's basically like, oh crap, this is about to get a lot worse, right? Agent Jordan is not too happy that Callie subpoenaed Agent Allen and says that if he testifies, they risk exposing how they operate to the enemies. So they hand Callie an envelope and walk away, and at first I was like, great, are they taking Callie to court? Are they trying to ruin her future? Are they getting rid of him and his parents? What are they going to do? Thankfully, it turns out that what is in that envelope is the stay of removal for him and his parents that they wanted this whole time. So they get to stay, and now the only thing everyone's worried about is ICE possibly getting revenge, though, by recommending that him and his DACA status get denied. Callie then seeks more advice from Professor Kim and once again pleads her case for him to consider getting her into the law program the next year because this is her passion, and in that whole year she waits, so many families could be torn apart. She pleads a really good case, and he once again says she's a force to be reckoned with, but there's really nothing he can do. Now when it comes to her love life, Aaron basically says that he needs to see where things go with Amanda. There's also a sweet scene in this episode that happened a little earlier between Callie, Steph, and Lena, where she brings up something from the first episode.
When I first got here, you said I wasn't disposable. That meant so much. But what means even more is how you made me feel that way every day since.
The one person who really isn't having a good day in this episode is poor Brandon. He's MIA at graduation because Grace isn't doing well and he went back to see her. She's not doing so hot, and when Brandon is playing guitar for her, she makes him promise to still go to Coachella, even if she can't, unless the headliner sucks, of course. She then talks about how she wishes she could have played Coachella there one day, and reveals that after her talk with her mom, she made her mom her proxy because it was the right thing to do. We then see Grace die surrounded by her parents with Brandon singing, and it is utterly heartbreaking, guys. Brandon calls Steph to tell her that he is driving back home, but he just needs to be alone, but he promises to be there by the next morning, and well, that doesn't happen, because as he's driving, he decides to not turn towards San Diego, and instead, he watches the sunrise from an empty field. But what is the significance of this field? It is the field where Coachella happens, and as he's sitting there, he has this vision of he and Grace playing on the stage. Then we see someone walking towards him, and surprise, it's Callie. Callie figured out where he was because she saw that he wasn't home and there were Coachella tickets on his desk. And all I gotta say is maybe Callie should be a detective instead, because I don't think I would have put those two things together. That was not a lot to risk driving however far that was to see if Brandon was there. Anyway, it is a very, very sweet gesture, and Brandon opens up to her about how he hopes that Grace knew that he loved her, and Callie reassures him that she did, and well, I'll just let this clip do the talking too.
Because I've been loved by you, Brandon. And it is a pretty powerful thing.
Thank you for that.
Ugh, Browley, even in a non-romantic way, Browley is just perfect together. They're just the greatest support system, and I love that. And so this part of the show, the executive producers told TV Line that it's actually a throwback to the pilot, to when Callie ran off to find Jude and Brandon skipped his piano competition to go with her. This time, it's Callie going to get him so he doesn't miss his graduation, a really important thing in his life that Grace would have wanted him to go to. Alright, so now we've come to the end, the graduation ceremony. Lena stayed up all night working on the speech and she finally just had to start the ceremony. And when she's in the beginning parts of her speech, she sees Callie and Brandon run up, and that's when she decides she's inspired and she decides to wing her speech, and she gives this great moving, inspiring speech about lives and roads and the people you meet and all these kinds of things, and she even throws in the lyrics from the theme song, guys, and she tells everyone that they'll always have a home at Anchor Beach. But when she said those theme song lyrics, yeah, another spot that I started to lose it.
And remember, it's not where you come from. It's where you belong. And no matter where this life takes you next, always know that you have a home here at Anchor Beach.
Now, before I talk about what happens with our main characters in the future, let's talk about some other characters that kind of pop back up. We get a mention of Callie's sister Sophia when Robert says that he has a raincoat from Sophia for Callie for Portland. Daphne and her daughter are also in the audience cheering on Callie, so it seems like life is going well for Daphne and she got her daughter back. We also see him and mouth some words to Callie, and it took me a few times repeating the scene to even figure out what they were, but it's Himina saying she got her DACA, so her family is all together and happy again. Now, when it comes time to pass out diplomas, we learn Brandon got into the Musicians Institute, and when it's Callie's turn, Lena announces that Callie is going to UCSD for the 5-year law program, and you see everybody look around super surprised, and Callie's like, wait, is this a mistake? Lena tells Callie she got a call about an hour before the ceremony and that Professor Kim really went to bat for her and got her into the program. We then all of a sudden see Lena handing out diplomas again in a different outfit, and we flash forward to the next year. Jesus graduates on time and is going to community college. Mariana indeed worked her butt off and got into MIT. We also learn which guy she chooses. Mariana couldn't bring herself to break up with Wyatt before his graduation, and it looks like she never broke up with him because he's in the audience cheering her on. What's funny here is it also looks like Jude went through a goth stage. That kid, oh man, he's something. Emma also got into MIT, so she and Mariana will be classmates again. We then flash forward to Jude's year, and Taylor is going to Sarah Lawrence, and Jude got into UCLA. We then see that Mariana is no longer with Wyatt, but she has a new guy in her life, and by new guy I mean old guy. It is Matt. So I got my wish in the end. If you're shippers of Mariana and Matt, you got your wish as well. And that is the result because earlier in the episode before the graduation ceremony started, Matt thanked Mariana for her breakup and pep talk speech and how he wasn't afraid to go to Berkeley anymore. And he said if she got into MIT, they should just grab some coffee and catch up. And it seems like that whole catch-up session, that it worked, and Matt and Mariana are endgame. Of course, that's to see until we get the spin-off, because that's like, what, 5 years later or something, and we're gonna have to see how that goes. It's also nice to see that Donald is still in Jude's life as he's in the audience cheering Jude on, and just seeing the changes in everybody's looks in the family and these flash forwards is great. The episode ends then with the family back at the house having cake for Jude's graduation. Callie has 1 year left to college, and it seems like everyone is doing well. The doorbell rings, and it looks like Brandon has a girlfriend named Liza who apologizes for being late to the party because she had rehearsals because she plays cello in the LA Phil. Mariana then nudges Brandon to share some big news, and it turns out that he and Liza are engaged, and Mariana in fact helped pick out that ring when Brandon visited her in Boston. They're also planning for a beach wedding the next summer. So yeah, it seems like their wedding is the one that we will see in the summer episodes of the cast went to Turks and Caicos for. We then see Lena answer a call on the house phone, and it's their social worker Bill who says that he has a kid that needs a home. So she calls Steph over and asks what she should do, and of course that's where the episode ends, and we don't hear the answer because it's a damn cliffhanger. I have a feeling they said yes though, but part of me also kind of wanted them to say no just for the time being so that we could see, or that not that we could see because we're not going to see it, but so that their relationship could strengthen because of the whole thing with Lena worrying about what would happen when there was an empty nest, if they'd be able to talk to each other or open up. I feel like they need like a month after Jude leaves for college to kind of work that out and then maybe get kids again. But I'm not the writer of the show. I don't know how the relationship's going, so I kind of also am hoping that they do say yes to that foster kid. Maybe we will see that though in the summer episode. And that wraps up season 5 of The Fosters. It seems like everyone got their happy endings, so these summer episodes better not mess with that too much.
Who's this?
This is Callie. She's gonna be staying with us for a little while. 5 years ago,
You were meant to be my daughter. I was meant to be your mother.
America met a groundbreaking family.
You were the person I've been waiting for my whole life.
I like that color. Do you want me to do yours?
I can't feel the keys. What am I gonna do if I can't play? I'm afraid that I'm never gonna be the same again. You're not.
Today is your day, and you are going to officially become a member of this family, okay?
Through the years, one thing has never changed.
This is a family forever.
And beginning Monday, June 4th,
We're all very excited about the destination wedding in Turks and Caicos.
3 nights to say goodbye.
I thought Brandon would end up with someone more mature.
Do not ruin this wedding.
The Fosters, a 3-night series finale event beginning Monday, June 4th.
Like I said earlier, I'm very satisfied with the way that this season wrapped up. It was kind of an up and down season where I wasn't sure how much I liked it. There were storylines I did like, some I didn't, but overall, I think it was a great season, and the way that they wrapped it up was fantastic. And you know what? I'm gonna miss seeing my Addams Foster family together, but that's why we have the spin-off. Now it is your time to sound off in the comments. You can tweet me or comment down below. What do you think about how the way season 5 wrapped up? Were you happy with these flash forwards and that our characters had their happy endings? What will you miss most about this show? Hit me up down in the comments or on social media, and then you can check out some other random videos I made with my funny little mug in it right over here. And be sure to hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss when it's time for me to sit here and ramble about those summer episodes. I'm Lisa. Thanks for hanging in with me, and I hope that you have recovered emotionally from the final episodes of The Fosters of this season.